far. So there'll be a few. Now we're going to start to like refine the details a little bit. So what I'm going to do really is focus a bit on the lid. So let's hide the body. Now if you look at most bottle lids, they don't really have just completely smooth. They've got like little ridges in them. So that's what we're going to do now. So I can't create a sketch. If I go on sketch, I can't create a sketch on a non-flat surface or a plane. So I need to go on to construct down here. I'm going to create a type of plane. Now we've used offset planes so far. You can also use there's all sorts of different planes you can use, and some of them are very, very useful. So we're going to go to tangent plane. So basic geometry in secondary school, tangent planes, lines that are tangent to a circle, obviously, which means it comes into contact with a circle at some point. So click on tangent, click on OK, and it's just made a plane that's just touching the surface of that circle. So now what I'm going to do is I can create a sketch, and I'm going to create a rectangle. Now I'm not doing a massively accurate thing, I'm just trying to, this is all just for appearance's sake really. Click OK like that. Now the ridges don't really go all the way up to the top, so I'm just going to click on P for project and just select this whole body here, and that projects the lines. Now the only reason I'm doing that is so I can offset it a little bit. I'm going to offset by 1 mil. I'll do the same thing there, offset by 1 mil. And the only reason I'm doing that is so I end up with just this profile here. I don't really want the rest of this bit here. And I'm going to click on Finish Sketch, E for Extrude, and I'm just going to click on this bit, and then I'm just going to mess up my camera angle. And I'm just going to, don't want to select you, or you, or you. I'm going to just drag it in a little bit like that. So I've actually selected the wrong thing there, so let me just do that again. Let's go on E for Extrude, I want to select you. I'm going to come in, and let's say I'm going to go in 0.5, minus 0.5, like that. So I've got a little bit of a ridge, and hit OK. Okay, so there's a few little steps there just to be able to make it so I can make a sketch around the surface like that. Now obviously I could go around and do that loads and loads and loads of times, but that'll take a huge amount of time. And Fusion's got a feature in there that will help with you. So like when we did the Lego block and we made like the bobbly bits, we used a rectangular pattern. We can go to create and go to pattern and go to circular pattern. Type, I'm going to go with features because we've done an extrude. I want to pattern the extrude, so I'm going to just select it down in my menu down here. The axis that I'm selecting it around, I'll just select a circle like that, and you see it's starting to pattern it around. So we can put in, let's say, 25. That looks about right. Let's see how it looks when I adjust it. Okay, that's about right. If I wanted to add more, I could always just right click, go on edit feature, and up that number or less that number if I wanted to, but I think actually for the most part that looks about right. So now I'm just going to fillet the edge around here as well, just to make it a little bit softer. Hit one like that, or maybe okay, so I think that is a lid, modern wise. Should we fill it at the bottom as well here, just to add that, make it a little bit, not quite as harsh as a fillet. Let's try 0.2, like that. So you see it now looks a lot more realistic, and actually something that should have taken us quite a long time with other CAD software, we've managed to do quite quickly with this one. So generally at the minute, I think that's gone pretty well. So we're now going to look at adding some materials to it, adding some decals to it. So what we're going to do, so we're going to hit A for appearance. From under modify, you got appearance menu there, or hit A on your keyboard. Now hopefully you know what most plastic bottles are made from, which is PET. We don't actually have that material in here. We do have a huge amount of materials built into Fusion, but sometimes it's the case of trying to find something that looks like the one you want, not necessarily is the one that you want. So I think I had a look earlier, some plastic, and I went to transparent, and I used clear acrylic. Kind of got the same look to it. If we did being technical, you would want like PET, but it's not built in, so it's not a big deal. Anyway, no one's checking the material that's in there. And then same thing for the lid. So let's bring this in here, but it's not white, it's going to be red, so I'm going to double click and I'm going to change it to red, so I'm going to bring it across here, and then let's try like a nice dark, like that. So it's going to save my materials that I've got in there. Now remember to always jump back into render as well, so you can see I've got these lines that are appearing. It's worth pointing out, if you jump into render, some of those lines, they just, you can see, they're not actually there on the render itself, it's just the model showing you where you've done the actual modeling itself. Okay, so back over to design, and now what I'm going to try and do is add in the appearance of having some Coke in there. So really, in terms of this project, being able to model a bottle is like the main first thing. And then the main other thing we look at is when we do the sheet metal to make like a little carrier to go with it as well. But in terms of, we talked about with the Lego block, you want things to look realistic when you render them. And obviously when you're having a bottle of Coke, you'd assume there'd be some liquid in it as well. So we're going to have a look at where we're trying to make it look like there's liquid in it. So I'm going to turn on my section analysis like that, so it's cutting it in half. This is why it's really useful, because I can actually start to edit the inside of my bottle and it'll affect it. So I'm going to go back over to surface and I'm going to do the same thing again that I did with the lid. I'm going to go to offset. So I'm going to click on that surface and hit OK. Now it's worth pointing out that, in fact, sorry, I should have gone edit feature. I didn't actually put any measurements in there. Let's put in 0.1. Hit OK. It's worth pointing out, even though it looks like I'm only doing half of it, if I turn off the section analysis, you'll see it's doing the whole thing. It's just because I've cut it in half for this purpose. And then I'll do what I did before. I'm going to go to patch. Oh, helps you actually click it. Go to patch. Click on OK. And then let's go to stitch and stitch that and that together. And then you see it is made it a solid piece that I can now play around with. So I turn my section analysis off. Again, you can see it's just there. So obviously, if that was just to be like that, it's not really a full amount. Okay, so we're going to try and like press pull, make that a little bit bigger. So this is where I'm going to jump in between solid and surfacing again. This is the bit where most people tend to get a little bit muddled up. They don't check which surface or which modelling area they are in. Okay, generally speaking, when doing the surface, everything is orange. Then we go to solids, things tend to be yellow, blue. Sorry. So I'm going to go to push pull, and I'm going to click on this surface here, and I'm just going to drag up to whereabouts I reckon the bottle would be full. So let's go to about there and hit OK. Now, oh, wait a second for it to finish loading. So you can see at the minute it's kind of extruding past the lid of the actual out of my bottle, which is no good. So I want to split this body. So I'm going to go to split body. Body I want to split. I'll click on the wrong part. So let's try that again. Let's go and split body. So I actually want to split that body. Always do make sure you're selecting the right thing. Sometimes when you do click on the wrong thing. That's where things tend to go wrong a little bit as well. So splitting tool. Well, I want to use the inside of the bottle like that. So then let's hit on OK, and you'll see here I've now got extra bodies that have appeared. So that clearly, body 9 there, if I click on that, you can see that is the one I want to get rid of. So I'm going to click on it, right click, go on remove. So I have now got that, and I'm going to change that to liquid. And you see it is a solid body as well. So what I'll then do, so I'll click on, so in fact, before I do that, let's just quickly go back to analysis as well, so you can see it looks like, obviously it doesn't look like liquid at the minute, it just looks like a solid grey thing. So I'm going to go to appearances. Now there are some liquids built in. Funnily enough, Coca-Cola isn't a material option. But what I found is I used this water wavy C one. I dragged that in, and then what I did, I'll move the menu around a little bit, is I came down and made it like dark, like black, or like a little colour like that. So then let's have a look what happens if I turn this off. So you see it has the appearance of like dark liquid. and again we're going to go back into render just to check, and you see I'd say that looks relatively light coat. Obviously this is just trying to give the appearance. We've done the main work in terms of the hardest bit really is revolving, getting the bottle, getting the lid, making it look realistic that way. This now is just trying to make it look more realistic, give it more context, make it look like a real thing. Okay, so I've now got my bottle, body, my lid, and my liquid. Now before I add the decals, because if I did the decals first and did what I'm going to do next, it would delete the decals anyway, so I'm going to do this bit next now. So at the top here, I'm going to go on new component, and I'm going to change this and call this bottle 1. And then down here, you see I've got bottle 1 here, and it's ghosted out. Don't be alarmed when it ghosts out. That just is what happens when you have other components active. So when it means active, it means this little white, this dot here is next to it. If I come up here and reactivate it that way, it's still there. Nothing bad has happened to it. So I'm going to do this, and just quickly, because I just realised I haven't, I'm going to save what I'm doing and just change. I'm just going to save this quickly just in case something happens like that. So the reason I'm doing that is now I'm going to drag this body down there and the liquid as well. So I've got all 3 bodies. Now I haven't dragged the offset one because we don't need that anymore. So in fact what I can do is I can right click and go on remove. And then you can see down here under bottle 1 I have now got bottle body, bottle lid, bottle liquid, and that's all there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the decals, because once I duplicate these bottles they'll all have exactly the same things on. So I'm going to go to insert, go to decal, insert from computer. I've got a label I've already got ready there. Surface, I want to click on this surface here. I want to rotate it. Let's rotate it -90. I'm going to click off, well I won't click off chain faces yet, but I'm going to drag it like this, and you see what will happen is it starts to distort a little bit. Okay, if you click off chain faces, oh I clicked a surface while doing that by accident, let's do that again. Let's click on the surface here, let's rotate it -90, and let's drag it, make it bigger, down into position like that. So chain faces is the reason why a lot of the time it sort of distorts. I'm going to hit OK, and you can see that's gone all the way around without too much distorting. For the most part, what I found with students is if it ends up distorting and wrapping around a little bit, it's because they've got chain faces selected and it's trying to stretch it across multiple faces. So you see under this component here now is where the decal is. Okay, so it's all contained under here. So bottle body, bottle lid, bottle liquid, and the decal for it as well. So again, getting the habit of going back into render to check, and I say that looks pretty realistic. What I haven't done in preparation for this video is I haven't got like a little decal for the lid. That is absolutely something you could do as well.